I dedicated this podcast to independent artists. I want to give you guys a straight look in the industry, man. Also want to highlight people behind the music scene, business side. When people see people behind the scenes, they don't know who that is.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
Amazing. I'm great. I appreciate you jumping on the call.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Most definitely, man. So, yeah, I've been watching you for a while with TIG, so I messaged you because I'm like, it'll be great to have you on our podcast. My podcast is designed for people that's behind the scenes, that's doing a great job putting in work. So I wanted to highlight them and just showcase them to the world a little more than what they already been, showcased. A lot of times, there's so many artists that come through the door, and there's so much work put behind them. But a lot of times, the people that's putting in work don't really get the light and the flowers that they deserve. So I created my podcast to do that, just because I know you people deserve it, man, because y'all do a lot, behind the scenes.
That's amazing. We appreciate people like you because, it's a lot of work going on behind the scenes that people just do not see. And it's a lot of us.
Yeah, most definitely. So, yeah, definitely want to give you guys your flowers. Starting with you. How did you kind of get into the music industry? Give us a quick kind of bite for people who's not as familiar with you.
Oh, man. Let me say this. I started out, my trade in education is in business and accounting. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, and I have a Master's in Accounting and Financial Management. So I started out working with TIG when it was a small promotions company. I was actually still in school. So it was just like a team of young professionals. We were having a lot of parties up and down the Southeast region, booking out clubs and booking artists and having parties. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because I was the one with the degree in business and the degree in accounting, I became the designated person to manage the business and money and finances and admin segment of our events. We learned so much with booking artists, and so once you on the promotion side, when you see that you're booking artists, you're communicating with a team on the back end of the artist. So you begin to see that there's another side to things, and it's almost like the deeper we got into it, the more we wanted to know and the more we wanted to learn. And let me say this, because when I started working with Think It's a Game, entertainment is what it was at the time, because it was a promotions company. We had a very small team. They tried doing the label thing previously, but things just didn't work out. So we went heavy into promotions. We ended up doing a deal with Trinidad James in 2012. And that's when everything kind of like in Def Jam, that's when things transitioned 100% into a record label. And we learned that there is a business side to music. And because, because we were so accustomed to the promotion side, like marketing and all of the lifestyle things and the surface level things, the business side of it hit us really hard because we weren't educated. And so we learned a lot of things through trial and error very quickly, and we kind of had to step it up. So that's kind of how we were with that. And so working with Think It's a Game Records, I started to, and working on the business side, obviously, like I said, I was always the designated person to music and business. So I was communicating with attorneys and other accountants, and I learned that accountants in music business were called business managers. So the more and deeper I got into it, I learned about all these different positions. And it's crazy to me because I'm like, man, I used to watch music videos. I never knew all of this was going on. Man, it's so many jobs on the back end of music. Where people are actually putting in work, losing sleep, not leaving the office because they are on top of what's going on the front side of things. And so I'm like, okay, so I can actually provide business management services to other artists. And so I transitioned into create my own company, which was Checkmate Business Management, where I started working with other artists and providing business and financial services. It's very time consuming. And so the older I got, I wanted to transition from service-based to product-based. And so I released a book. It's called Music Money. I also have a short film. It's called Balling on a Budget. And Fly, who was the CEO, had asked me to come back to be the COO of the record label, in which I never left because I was always consulting on different things because it was like our baby. We started together from a young age. This whole team, this small team, it's probably like a team of 6 of us. And so that's kind of like where I am today with Think It's a Game Records now, the COO and also CEO, Checkmate Business Management. But I'm transitioning to more of a product-based company on that side so that I can educate more.
Most definitely. You said a lot within that. That's a lot. So within that, like what made you stick? Because you started from the beginning, and I'm pretty sure you've seen the ups and downs in the beginning of every business, you know. So what made you stick with them versus like, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing on the financial side. I could just go work for anybody else. What made you kind of stick with those guys?
With Think It's a Game Records?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was the familiarity. So in the music business, one of the things that we unfortunately deal with amongst the culture is like having trust issues.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's always good in the music business to work with people who you're comfortable with, people that you know and who you trust. And so that comfortability is what, you know, always inspired me to want to continue working with that team and continue working with that brand. And also I was so connected to it because I saw everything. We literally built this from the dirt. I mean, I was outside running around putting up posters myself, you know what I mean? Whatever it took, you know what I'm saying? So, and I still just want to see the brand even grow even bigger. So it's very, very much important to me. We have a new generation of young professionals. They remind me of us, you know, so I'm always pouring into them because I want to see them kind of do what we did so I can step out and watch them do their thing. Yeah, with this new generation swag, you know what I'm saying?
For sure. Most definitely. You spoke on like having a background, finances too. How important is that, you know, in your position to kind of know that finance background and being like management too? How important does those two intertwine with each other?
It's extremely important. Actually, it's not even just important to me. It's something that everybody in the music business should be very well versed on because the music business is very lucrative. So you could generate a lot of income very quickly, and we know that there's a high turnover with artists. Artists don't last forever. So, you know, having that financial savvy helps because when you make a lot of money on the front end and things don't turn out the way you'd like it to with a certain artist, if you're financial savvy, you'd have done the right things with your money as opposed to going through issues later because things didn't work out and you didn't plan for it. And then just me overseeing my team and these artists, wanting to see them do that, wanting to see artists come to the label and they don't have much, from me seeing that to seeing them buying their mothers houses and things like that is so important in my position. And also for me to be a reflection of that because this is the most important information we can share with the culture. It's like, you know, they have to know we want to see generational wealth. We want to see these guys turn into moguls because for the most part, obviously I work with a lot of hip hop artists. Yeah. And so they come from the streets, you know, but I'm no different than them because I come from it too. So it's even more important to me to see them win because it's like, you know, we know that there's not much information available to us. So the people in position who have access to that information, it's our responsibility to share it, especially with people who we know we can communicate with, because sometimes people don't understand individuals that didn't come from where they come from. But for someone like me that came from where they came from, who can communicate it, I feel like it's my responsibility to do that while I'm in this position. And I can't speak on wanting to build a legacy if I'm not pouring into other people. Like my legacy is pouring into other people, being a part of other story, so that they can say, I learned this from Shalon, or Shalon showed me this, or Shalon taught me that. You know, that's my legacy. And so that's what's important to me.
I'm just gonna pause it for a bit. You smoking shit right now, man. We gotta, if you tuned in right now, she's talking that shit. She's talking that shit. If you tuned in, definitely take notes, man. She's talking great gems. I don't hear a lot of people speak how passionate you are with the music, so I want to salute you on that, man, for sure. What's the like, so artists, they got a independent label like TIG and they got a big label like, you know, I don't know, like Universal or something like that. What's their determining fact? Like, how would they kind of like pick between those two? Because you have it seems like an independent label is more passionate, they're more involved with the artist. For sure. Versus on the big label side, they're involved, but it's not as passionate. They don't know the culture like that. Exactly. So how important is it for them to stay kind of within the culture, because they know people like you guys are kind of going to be there a little more because you actually understand where you're coming from because you came from a familiar or the same place?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing is them understanding what their personal goals are. I
Yeah.
think the very first thing that every artist needs to do is understand what it is that they want out of this. Do you want short-term success, or do you want long-term success? Do you want more accessibility, or you want to be put in a position where you have to try to prove yourself for people to give you the attention? Because you said something just then with smaller independent labels as indies, and I've worked with majors too, because so trust me, I know how they move.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm seasoned myself, so I know how to navigate those those roadblocks very well.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're working with a small independent label, you just have access to so many more people, and it's more like a family. Like their family become our family, so we become more passionate about it because we're more connected with them. With a major label, it's so much distance because you have the music business the entertainment business is $1 billion industry.
Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
you have these huge labels that are working with all of these artists, and obviously their priorities are the ones that are generating the most income.
Yeah.
The ones that are most important. And most of the time you only have access to, the A&R or the product manager that you're working with. You won't get to be able to have a conversation with somebody like in a position like me at an independent label like the COO or the COO. You don't have that type of access.
Exactly.
So if things are going, that's why on the internet you see a lot of people go to the internet with their problems, like even big artists, because they don't have much access to those music executives to express those issues. So their first reaction is to go to the internet, because they know that once they go to the internet, everybody's going to see it. Exactly. They're going to get their attention. So I think that the most important thing is, one, understanding what it is that what you need as an artist and what your goals are, and understanding what a major label offers versus an independent label. My personal opinion, if you don't have a team of your own that can communicate with the majors on your behalf, because an artist that comes and signs to us as an independent label and we do like an upstream deal with a major label, we can get on the phone with the COOs and the CEOs, you know what I mean? Because especially like a label like us, we're successful. We're a multi-million-dollar label. We've broken several records without majors. So they have a certain level of respect for us, and because we're educated and we understand a lot of things, they can't do anything but have certain conversations with us. A lot of artists, because they're not as educated, they don't know what questions to ask coming in, and so they get caught in the situation where they may get shelved or they can't contact anybody because they're just not moving enough. So I think the determining factor depends on, there's really no specific determining factor. It just depends on what an artist's goals are personally. And I feel like you have to know that as an artist.
Most definitely well said. A lot of artists, they look at it like they get themselves a time window. I'm gonna do it for, I don't know how long they will say now. It seems like they don't get themselves a lot of time now. But most artists say, I'm gonna do this for maybe 5 years. If it don't work, I'm gonna try something else. It's really no time limit on when somebody can break. But from your perspective and your just experience, how long should somebody go at it until they switch kind of paths and like, maybe I'm maneuver to something else? Like, what is your perspective on that as far as kind of pursuing your dream, and if it doesn't work, I might do something else? Do you give yourself a time limit on that?
I mean, in life, and this is not even just with music, this is with anything, any dreams that we have. You can't put a time limit on your dreams. If you really love something, you're truly passionate about it, you're going to keep shooting your shots until you get your opportunity. The problem is a lot of people are not as relentless as they should be. People think that things are supposed to happen overnight, and it just doesn't happen. Sometimes it may take people 6 months. Unfortunately, sometimes it may take people 10 years. You just never know. The thing about it is, we see a lot of these artists and they're successful, and we as the people on the outside looking at things, we don't see how much work they put in. We don't know how long they've been doing this. And so for us, when we first see it, we think it just happened, when this person been working on this for 10 years. So it's not a matter of how long it's going to take. It's a matter of how bad do you want it. So
most definitely, I hear a lot of artists, they put themselves in that boat. Like, I feel like they don't get themselves enough time to even achieve their goals. It's like people, like a lot of young people, they don't never get to meet their purpose. Like, they give up before they even get to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, get yourself enough time. Like, man, you keep going, you'll meet your purpose eventually if you keep going at it, like you said, being relentless and being consistent. You know what I'm saying? So I think more artists should definitely get themselves time. A lot of things come to money too. We all know it takes money to make money. We all know in the music industry, to move your product, you got to have something to move it. you know what I mean, other than talent itself, from you being an independent label, starting it, seeing it from the ground, and being a COO, which is, you know, the financial side of things, do artists have to have a certain budget to kind of get their music moving, or what should they be kind of focusing on when it comes to like budget wise?
You do have to have a budget, but if you don't have a budget, you just have to, you know, you just have to get out there on grassroots level. There are things that you can do to help build yourself. You know, people just, like I said, most people just don't have that relentless mindset. If you don't have a budget, that means you need to be showing up to all of these events. You need to be networking with people. You know, you need to be creating content every single day. It doesn't cost money to create content.
Right.
You know, if there are trends going on the internet, you need to be freestyle trends or whatever, hop in them. And I'm not saying that to say that you need to hop on all trends, because authenticity is so very important when it comes to content. But I'm just saying, if you don't have a budget, things like this are important so that you're bringing more exposure to yourself. You know, understanding how algorithms work with social media, understanding how important hashtags are, and being tapped into the internet is important if you don't have a budget. You know, right now, I would say that, like, we may overthink content, but for the most part, people love raw authenticity. We can really film ourselves doing nothing, cooking in the kitchen, or, you know, shopping outside. And because people can relate to it, people just tune in. So there's so much more you can do. And when it comes to networking, it doesn't cost you to, you know, show up at an artist showcase and go shake the hands of people, or panel and go shake the hands of people in the room, go shake the hands of people on these panels. And DJs are your best friend. I don't, you know, like, there's no DJ that's too small. You know, if you're locally, you need to be trying to figure out who are all the DJs in your city, and you need to be trying to meet every one of them. If you don't have a budget, you need to be trying to get their music in your hand by any means necessary. And it can be difficult because you will be told no. But if you want it bad enough, you will continue to continue over and over to try to achieve those goals. You will continue to pursue it. So it's just like, it's here. It's a mindset. You know, because you need a budget, but there are lots of people who do this without budgets, you know, even as a professional, you know, because we spend a lot of money on artists, but we may look at other, you know, talent and say, like, dang, you know, this artist may have had $5,000 and they were able to do this with $5,000, just because sometimes when you have money, you use it because you have it, but when you don't have it, your mindset may be different because you don't have it and you don't have a choice. Yeah. But sometimes when you have a choice, it's hard for you to try to act like, you know, like you don't have it. And so you end up going that route. So sometimes I like to try to act like we don't have it. Like, let's see how creative we can be, you know what I mean, with a smaller budget, because it's happening and it's possible. So
most definitely. Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it, because when you don't have money, you're way more creative, because you got to be creative. So you think of different things to do, versus when you have a lot of money, you just spending it. And a lot of times you're not being spent well. You wasting it. You're getting scammed. People not delivering results, or you're just not putting it in the right area, so you don't see the results you want. Then you get frustrated. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a perfect way to put it. It's really not about how much money you got, but how you use it and how creative you can get to scratch whatever dollar that you do have to turn it into something else. So I think that was a great way to put it. For you to put your name on somebody, because again, you see a lot of artists, what would it take from an artist for you to put your name on it and kind of vouch for them?
Man, like, a lot of artists are in my DM all the time.
Yeah, imagine.
And like, what they don't realize is that even if I don't respond, I watch them to just see what they're doing for themselves. So it's 2022. I want to see how hard you'll work for you, because I don't want to work with an artist where I got to work harder than you for you. You know what I mean? Sure. If I put in 100%, I want to see you putting in 110%. You know, and so it doesn't necessarily have to be. There's this girl on the internet right now. Her name is Official Female Rapper. She's not signed to anybody. She's independent. She's been working for a long time. Like, I love her. I love her work. I've fallen in love with her work ethic. You know, so I always support her. So for me to even stamp an artist and work with an artist, I want to see what your work ethic look like. It's not necessarily about, you know, how many followers you got or how popular you are right now. But I do want to see what you could do for yourself, because depending on what you could do for yourself and me coming in to help you enhance that is going to tell me how far we can go.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think that's a great way to put it. Because a lot of times, I'm not sure if it's like that, but from just looking at it, do labels still work from people from ground up, or kind of they already kind of want you kind of like put together, not put together, but you got a base, you got a foundation, you kind of know where you want to go. Are you guys kind of looking towards more of that, or like just ground up, like building you from ground up?
Well, obviously you got to know that the music business is still a business.
Yeah,
So, I would even say that it's probably 90% business.
yeah,
So we come from, we started from building things up from the ground. Like
yeah,
everything we have, every artist that we've ever worked with, we built them from the ground up.
yeah,
So we have become accustomed to that mindset. But in this era of how things work, and especially with the internet, because when we started the internet, we
wasn't as
started,
big.
we was in the streets passing out CDs, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So we
sure.
didn't have the internet. So we have to change, shift, and pivot with the way things are going. So now it's more strategic
Mm-hmm.
to work with an artist that has some sort of movement going.
Yeah,
Because that goes back to what I was saying previously. It's like, okay, they've been able to do this for themselves. Now we can come in and help them enhance that. I
mm-hmm.
mean, and it's a better situation for the artist because believe it or not, if you already have something established, you have more leverage when it comes to negotiation. Artists come to the table when it's time to sign an agreement with these expectations, and they haven't established anything.
Yeah, they ain't got the leverage.
They don't have the leverage. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? The more leverage you have, the more negotiating power you have. And so it's not just good for the label to pick up an artist once they are already a little established. It's even best for the artist because they find themselves in a better situation
Mm-hmm.
when it's time to sign a deal.
Most definitely. Yeah, I think leverage is super important. And then you kind of like, you just want to know you still, like, you bringing something to the table too. You don't want to just put all your marbles in somebody else's hand when you're a adult, you're a grown up as well. So you want to make sure that you can provide quality and things as well. Because I think it worked better like that. Like, we both hustle, we both sit down, come to the table. We know it's going to make it happen. But if everything is on one person, on one shoulder, it's hard to make it happen. So I think that was a great way to put it. I don't think people look at how many losses labels take though. Like,
Oh my gosh.
labels take a lot of losses versus the other side. Like, could you speak a little bit on that? Like, just the different things labels go through on the back end that they take so many L's on.
I mean, it's a huge risk. You
Yeah,
got to know when to stop and when to slow down.
yeah,
Um, and you have to pay attention to the personalities and characteristics of the artist
yeah.
that you're working with because you have to know if things have the potential to turn around or not based on how things are going.
Most definitely.
Labels definitely do take a lot of L's, but it comes with the business.
Yeah,
If you're not ready to take those L's, then or you're not ready to take those risks, then this is just not the business for you.
for sure.
A lot of artists, even like when artists get signed and then they start signing artists, but they don't necessarily know the dynamic of what it takes to run a record label, all the different pieces involved, all the different departments and all the
Mm-hmm.
different things you just need to know when running a record label, because even though artists are signed to us, we're still accountable to them to some extent. We're
Yeah,
accountable to them when it comes to, royalties and collecting and expenses and making sure they have statements, making sure they
mm-hmm.
understand things, and also helping them on their side of the things with setting up companies and things like that. But I just feel like it's one of those things that's some industries, it's like investments. You have your high
Yeah,
risk investments and you have your low risk investments,
mm-hmm.
and you have to have that balance. So like a lot of labels, you may see they may have a lot of successful artists, but they have even more unsuccessful artists.
Yeah,
They're taking a whole lot more L's on the other side.
yeah,
So whatever wins and income they may be generating from the artists that are winning, it balances out what they're losing. You have to, when it
mm-hmm.
comes to finances, that's something that you have to assess. It's like, are we having enough success to sustain where we are taking these losses? And so you have to have somebody on the back end actually assessing those things to make sure, because it's just the nature of the business. It is what it is, basically. If you
Yeah.
can't manage risk, if you don't have good risk management skills, then this is probably not the industry for you.
Most definitely. Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it. Just because I know if you're a regular consumer, you just don't see the details in the background of things. But like me being kind of in the industry, I see the other side of things what labels are, they're losing more than they win. It's just like to the public they're winning because the artist is so big, but you didn't see the other
Right.
20 artists that flocked over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think you put that in a great way. I see somebody asking in the comments, if you're already kind of popping, why do you need a label?
I mean, this goes back to what we spoke on previously. It's like, what are your goals?
Yeah.
If you are already popping as an artist, you're still probably not bigger than the label. So there are relationships and other positions and rooms that they make and put you in that you can't get in for yourself. So it's music business is still a bit political, you know, to say the least. So depending on what it is that you need, what your goals are, everybody's definition of success is different. So if you feel like you're good enough, you know, you've made enough money, you're established, you don't need a label, then that's you. Then you may have someone who says, you know what, I've gone as far as I can go. I want to elevate. I want to go a bit further. You have more leverage when you go to the table. You also know exactly what you want. So the conversation is different. You go in and you say, listen, I've invested this much money into myself. I've achieved this much success. This is what I've been able to do for myself. This is what I need. This is what I don't have. This is what I need from you guys. This is the type of deal that I'm looking for. And that's how you know, negotiate your situation. So it just goes back to it depends on what you want and what you need out of the situation. So you can never say, you know, you're established so you don't need it. It's a partnership. It's just like the saying, where do you want, you know, 100% of a million or 10% of 100 million? Do the math. You know what I mean?
That's the difference. That's
the difference.
That's
okay?
the difference.
It's a bigger pie. It may be a smaller percentage, but it's a bigger pie.
Most definitely. That's like I said, man, that's a perfect way to put it. It's like, you know, if you are a person and you in a business, you want to team up with other businesses doing well, because it can get you farther. You by yourself is only one person. You only one team. You only go through so many doors by yourself, because in the music industry, we have, I don't want to call them gatekeepers, but we do have people that's in position that if you know somebody else, it could put you in a better position. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, if you got leverage, you come to the table, you did this on your own, then people kind of got to meet your requirements, versus the other way around. When you don't have any leverage, you just go in there and they, you know, they can kind of, they're more benefiting because you're not coming to the table with as many, you know, assets and leverage behind you. So I think that's a great way to put it. And then it's like, I'd rather, like you said, have more pie than less. You want one slice or you want 8 slices, you know? So it's like, you definitely want to team with somebody who's got great relations. And then a label, man, y'all been doing this for so long. So that means y'all got business relationships, sponsorships, all these type of things that's already in place, versus you on your own trying to get it on your own. You don't really know people like that. So, you know, I think it's better to have somebody like yourself, experience, that really could take you to the next level. So whoever asked that question, that's kind of your answer. You being, you know, a dominant female in your industry, how do other females, I see a lot of females like, I can't get people to take me seriously. Like, how do you kind of establish that in a male dominated industry?
How do I establish people getting me to taking me serious as a female?
As a female, yeah.
Results. You know, once you start getting results, like I only, for the most part, I hire a lot of women. The majority, probably 85% of my team are women.
Women get shit done, just to let you know. Women get shit done, man.
You know what? You're a smart man. I'm glad you know that, because a lot of people don't know that.
Man,
no offense, but women get shit done.
Yeah.
So I always tell them that, you know, results are going to make people respect you. You know what I mean? Sometimes you do have to be like real stiff, just because you just have to be, and that's just what it is. But when people get in the room with you and they hear you talking, and they hear you speak, and they find out that they don't know nowhere near as half as what you know. You know, and things begin to become more clear to everybody. They see what you're capable of doing. They see what you know, and people start to respect that. And so that's how you maintain the position of where people take you seriously.
Most definitely. Great way of putting that. It's a lot of female artists that's popping right now. Seeing to me, I mean, females have always been around, but it seems like in the last 5 years, there's been an influx of dope female artists. From your perspective, what's some things as a female artist you should be focused on to kind of get to that next level? Or is it a next level? Or some people like maybe just happy kind of where they are. So from your advice and your perspective, what do females should be focused on to grow as an artist?
I mean, the most you can do as a female, because I do feel like it's tougher. I mean, and even as a label,
I feel like it's hard.
Working with a female artist, it is a lot more difficult with
Yeah.
females. Unfortunately, you know, it's not, and it's something that you necessarily don't have control over. But I mean, if you're dope, you're dope. It is what it is. I say to keep working, because there is a market for women. You see people getting in a little, like you see Nicki Minaj, she does something with Coily Ray, she did one with Meg. You know, if you build enough, like, other women will reach down and tap you so that you're able to get that exposure. But I say, you know, just keep shooting your shots and keep working and collaborate with other women, because I feel like if they come together a lot more and there's more unity in the female industry, then it can become a lot more dominant. You know, I feel like what the media does to women in the music business, as soon as one is coming, they immediately start putting one against the other. And the best way to combat that is for them to come together. Just like Amaretta just released Sorry Not Sorry. And they kind of slick tried to put her and Mulatto together, and they came together and did it.
Went against it.
Yes, that's the way you're supposed to do shit.
For sure.
You know what I mean, you're supposed to come together, because the media can really pin women against each other. And I think that it does nothing but hurt the culture of women in music overall, because if everybody was able to sit together like the guys do, you know, things would be a lot more stronger for women in music. But there is a market for women. I will always encourage them to keep working, keep winning, keep thriving, you know, keep being yourself, keep doing you, and keep stepping. You know, it's not easy for women in no industry at all. You know, so it is what it is, though. At the end of the day, you know, you just got to be yourself. You got to be confident. You got to be dominant. You got to know that you're a dope, and you got to walk it and talk it in every room, no matter who's in there. You always come in there as yourself. You always speak your piece, and you tell your story. Don't let nobody else tell it. And that's just what it is.
Most definitely. That's pretty dope. Hope y'all listening, taking notes, man. On that, it seems like you're really passionate as a person that's at a label. How do you, if another man is looking at you and they trying to get some advice, how would they separate being passionate and still handling business at the same time with an artist? Because you know, if you're real close with somebody, you can maybe overlook some things or not be as intentional on some things because they're your artist and you got a relationship with them. So what's your advice on keeping things business and having a personal relationship with them as well?
I feel like if you're not able to set those boundaries, then you shouldn't be in a position of leadership, because you're not doing anybody any justice by not telling the truth just because you have a relationship with them. You're causing them more hurt than anything. That's like being a yes man. A yes man is the worst person you could have on your team.
Facts.
You know what I mean? A yes person is somebody who will help you lose everything. You know, and you have to be willing and ready to argue and fight with your friends sometimes when it comes, because if it's a real friendship and the love is genuine, it's not going to fall apart. You know what I mean? Because it's just genuine. And it has to be established. It's always good when you work with friends in business. It's good to establish what that dynamic looks like from the beginning. You know, it's like, okay, we know we're friends. We have a personal relationship. We're going in business together. You know, I want you to respect my position as your partner and as somebody you're in business with. So when I come at you and I tell you something that I think is best for you and it's against what you're doing, I need you to be receptive of that. You know, and it has to be an agreement. Outside of the contractual agreement, there has to be a personal agreement that you guys are going to respect each other to a certain extent when it comes to having to disagree with one another. It's like a marriage, you know what I mean? Or it's like a relationship or a friendship, or with anything, you know, you have to establish those terms so that you guys can move successfully. And when there are problems, you have to know, you have to establish a way to sit down and talk about those things. Like, friend or not, for me, like, I love everybody on my team, but they know they know I could go out with them and I can drink with them and I could go to the mall with them and we could do all those things. But when it's time to work and something isn't done, they know I'm going to tell them. They know I'm going to ask them. You know, it's like, and my tone and energy may be a little different whenever we have those disagreements, but it's like, I still love you, but we're on this side of the fence right now. And I need you to, I need us to execute this. And do you want to go grab drinks after work? You know,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But it's like it's not doing anybody any justice if you're not telling them the truth and telling them what it is. You have to.
Most definitely. Yeah, like somebody said, lay the law down. That's a fact. Definitely got to. I see that a lot. Just with managers, like I don't know if they're afraid to tell the artist the truth, but it's like they don't because they don't want to mess up their personal relationship. Or even on the bigger end, you have somebody like
down there and promote my book.
shout out for sure. Like I said, even on the bigger end, you might have a big artist and you have somebody on your team, but you're not telling them the truth, and that hurt them as well. So I think it goes both ways. So I think you put that in a perfect perspective. As a like I said, you've seen TIG from the beginning. So like, what are you guys? Because you guys accomplished a lot already. What's some things you're looking?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Can you pin my comment?
Yeah, for sure. I got you.
Oh, look at that. That's Kayla down there. Hey, Kayla. That's my person, my boss. That's my manager. Yep.
Definitely. Shout out Kayla.
I'm sorry. So you were asking.
I was asking, far as TIG, what's some of your guys' next things you got coming up?
Oh, so we just launched. I mean, we're a record label, but we have just launched a distribution leg. Distribution company is called Wealth Media Distribution, which allows us to work with independent artists without any contractual obligations. And
that's dope.
And so we, you know, it's because we're independent and we come from that independent realm. We want to also, although we're a record label, we want to promote independence and educate. And so we created this company that allows us to be able to offer some of our marketing services on the label side to artists that may have their own budgets. Like we talked about that early on in the conversation. Yeah. So artists may have their own budget, but they just don't know what to do with it. And so on the distribution side, what we do is we offer marketing services, guidance, and education, and we distribute their music as well. And there's no contractual obligations to it. So that's what's next. That's the that's the next journey that we're on, while also in the process of we're still working obviously heavy with our artists. If an artist is doing really, really extremely well on the distribution side and they want to upstream or they want to work with us further and we really like them, then we'll upstream and still can do a record deal with them on the label side so that we can really pour into them wholeheartedly as an artist. So
yo, that's amazing. Like did y'all just hear that? Like, so you telling me y'all gonna bring on artists and they ain't gotta be signed necessarily as a record deal, but you actually gonna work with people within their budget, get them to a certain position. If they got dope music, they're able to cross over to the actual label side.
Yes.
That's amazing. I haven't heard any opportunities like that from a label like you guys. I don't think of yet. So I think that's pretty dope. If an artist wanted to pursue that, how would they kind of go about that, getting in touch with y'all for that?
So we're on Instagram. It's at Wealth Distro. Kayla, can you drop the handle in there? It's at Wealth Distro. So you can go to that Instagram page and send a DM. I'm actually the one who's operating that page right now too.
Most definitely. Y'all heard that, right? Come on, man. You gotta take advantage of that.
So if you go to Wealth Distro, hop in a DM, to set up a meeting, and we can kind of go from there. It's a very simple process.
Most definitely, man. That's amazing.
Bring your best foot forward, bring your best music, and bring your work ethic. If you don't have it, leave it at the door.
Most definitely. Talking that shit. Come on, man. Y'all gotta come with it, man. Don't come with the bull stuff. Leave that at home. All right. So what's I know you said y'all still working on people with the labels. So what's some upcoming artists that you guys have on the label that we should be looking out for?
So we got Rubber Band OG. He has a record. It's out right now. It's called 60 Ball. I don't know if you've heard it. It's the record is actually doing really well right now. And Rubber Band is not necessarily a new artist, but he has, he's gotten into his groove now. He's ready to work. And so we got this record. He's moving around. He's getting booked in several markets that he has. And so this is that phase, when stuff is beginning to turn over. Like I've seen this several times. Yeah. This is how it starts, when this is how whenever you're breaking, you may be popular locally, and sometimes, and you know what a problem with a lot of artists is, they're popular locally, and sometimes because they don't get outside of their market, their heads maybe really big. But you got to take an artist to where they're nobody, so they understand that, you know, it's bigger than the box that you're in. And that's just overall for any artist. But in reference to Rubber Band, he's getting booked in so many different markets that he's never, selling out shows in markets that he's never been to. So this is that phase that we're in where things are starting to turn over. And so everybody is all hands down, hands in. And we have Lil Bike also.
Lil Bike, he hard.
Yes, oh my gosh, Lil Bike is so dope. And hit him up, Rondo. He's out of Sanford, Florida. We actually just presented him a plaque. He just hit his first 1 million streams on Spotify, which is a huge milestone, especially him as a new artist, and especially to be able to do that on Spotify. That was amazing. And so we got some big things we're working on, and I'm building out the team. I've been hiring new people. I just hired 3 new people on the west side. So that's building out. And you know, we have our amazing team on the TIG side, and we collaborate because it's basically departmentalized. Like the distribution is a leg of us as a team, but we have like a really dope team. So because we're having so much motion going on, I've been building out the team, hiring more people.
Most definitely, man. That's amazing. For those opportunities, and I definitely heard of Bite. He's doing his thing, and then OG as well. So salute on those artists. If y'all familiar, if not familiar, definitely check them out, YouTube them. I'm gonna be dropping things in the comments as well after this, so y'all can make sure y'all check everything out.
Shout out to Damon Blue. I see you, Damon Blue, down there. He's dope. He's a dope songwriter. You know, like, let me say this, okay, about artists. Let me explain something to y'all about when it's time to create a hit record. You have to be open to the opportunity to work with songwriters and producers. Songwriters, it doesn't mean, because they're a songwriter, it doesn't mean they necessarily come in and write your lyrics. But as a professional, they may come in, take some of your lyrics and help you to say them in ways that you never would have thought of, more clever ways. They may talk to you and bring things out of you mentally that you never would have thought of. Like, that creative collaboration makes things even bigger and better for you. And it's all a part of the growth strategy. So I hate when artists get on the internet and they're like, oh, I write my own lyrics. Some of your greatest rappers, some of your greatest artists, or the people that you look up to have songwriters that they work with. And
y'all look at those song credits.
Yes, and it doesn't mean that they don't know how to write their music. They just understand the concept of creating hit records, okay? It's a collaborative effort, and sometimes you have to tap into the creativity of someone else. They say if you want to go fast, you go by yourself, but if you want to go far, you go together. And you have to get into the element of collaboration, because trust me, it's going to get you a whole lot further in the music business. So I've definitely been signing more producers and songwriters as well, trying to create these creative sessions, and not just for them to work with our artists, but we get pitches for, we have publishing a company as well. So, which is performance royalties and sync royalties and things like that. And so we get, you know, pitches from other artists, bigger artists that's not even signed to us, that's looking for songs. And so I have to have songwriters, because they can go in the studio, they create hooks. You go put a songwriter in the studio with a producer, and they'll create songs for hooks, and we send them off to some of the biggest artists out there, you know. And then you have songwriters who can get placements and things with other artists. So that's a huge side of music as well. You're publishing, that's like real estate, basically. And so the more opportunity you have there, you know, that's passive income. That money comes forever.
Most definitely. I think you hit it right on the head with collaboration. Because if you do look at some of our biggest hits in our culture anyway, or really in music in general, it wasn't just one person on the song. You know, if you flip it over, look at the credits or look at the bottom of it, you see, you know, different artists, different producers, different songwriters on these songs that was amazing, that came out 20 years ago, and we still singing today. So I think definitely should be more open mind to that. For somebody who kind of on their last leg and they've been doing it for a minute and they ready to give up, what would you tell them? With some encouraging words, like to keep going, not to give up?
I mean, you have to remember that you're always only one song away. All you need is one. You know what I mean? No matter how long you've been doing it, you have to, you know, stay motivated and stay close to people who pour into you. Stay close to people that motivate you. Stay close to people that encourage you, to help keep your spirits up. You know, there's people that continue to tell you that you're dope, continue to tell you that you're great, and keep working. You never know when that opportunity is going to stop. You know, I saw something a while, this meme where it has like, this farmer, he's like digging in the ground looking for gold and got tired and stopped. Somebody else came in and started digging for a little while and found the gold, you know, just because they stopped right there at the right there at the end of the leg where they would have gotten what they wanted. And so sometimes you just have to keep working, but it's very important to have that support system, because support is important. You know, you need that energy. You need that energy to thrive. And sometimes all we need is somebody to tell us to keep going. And so I have these conversations with, you know, artists or employees or even my friends at times, you know, because everybody get discouraged. We all go through it. And that's why authenticity is so important, because everybody shares on the internet when they're doing well, but nobody necessarily shares their struggles. But sometimes we have to share those struggles because we never know who we might inspire. And you never know, you know, who else is going through the same thing. And so that's why that authenticity is so important, because people need to see those struggles. They need to know that, listen, it's not uncommon what you're going through. It's a part of the process. Like, just embrace it and keep going, because this is just a part of the process of winning. Failure is a part of the process. You don't just hop in and win. It's just not how it works.
Most definitely. And from consumer perspective, we like seeing somebody come from the bottom and make it to the top. You know, we like seeing the things they went through, you know, all the things they embrace, and all the struggles and trials and tribulations that they went through, because it gives us inspiration and see somebody that come from where we come from, and like, wow, they made it through that. I know my situation ain't even that bad. I know I can make it through that.
Right.
So from a consumer's perspective, we definitely like seeing that. And then also, it seems to me the music is better in the beginning stages when they are going through what they're going through to get to that level. Like, the music is raw, it's authentic, it's painful, you could feel it, you know what I'm saying? Versus when you kind of get on, it may become a little more commercialized, seems like it, from a lot of artists. So I think we like seeing that. So as you said, embrace that struggle, embrace that journey. How important is to it be, and you speak on authentic a lot, like a lot of times in today's industry, a lot of people fake it till you make it, or I'm gonna kind of look like it and do it. You know what I'm saying? Just to so the crowd can look at me a certain way. How important is it to be kind of authentic to yourself?
It's the most important. Like, obviously, perception is everything. So you have to, you know, you have to dibble and dabble here and there, but you have to just know how far to go. You don't want to go too far away from authenticity, because you take away so much from the core of who you are. There are more people in the world that are struggling than people are doing well. So more people are going to relate to the struggle. You know what I'm saying? You'll have more people sharing your content with their friends, you know, with people that they may know, like, girl, I be doing this, or this remind me of you. You know what I'm saying? So, and there will always be people in the world that can relate to you. You know, there's so many artists. The best thing you can do is be yourself. You know, don't be a second-rated version of someone else. Be a first-rated version of yourself, because that is what differentiates you from everybody else. Like, that truly differentiates you from everybody else. So that's why that authenticity is so important, because there are going to be so many people in the world, believe it or not, that can relate to your authenticity. So it's important for you to embrace that and really showcase that. We tell these artists all the time, because when you work with a team and you have a marketing team, obviously we're going to have ideas. But you have to make sure that your team understands who you are, so that they can, you know, ideate on things that align with who you are. So they're not giving you right-wing things to do that you don't believe in, or that's going to look really weird with them trying to do it, because it's not what they do in the first place. And you can look at things and see, like, a lot of my clients or artists that I work with, when it comes to social media, the pictures that they take by themselves with their iPhone always do better than the photo shoot ones. The videos that they shoot with their phone, like little candid videos that they post with their phone, by themselves always do well than the actual music video teasers. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? That's because people like raw, uncut, authentic content. They like seeing things in real time.
Yeah.
So that's probably number one on the list of things when it comes to being an artist is authenticity. Being authentic, being true to yourself. Trust me, it's going to take you a lot further than you trying to be someone else, because you're trying to be someone else when you, if it does work for you, what are you going to do when it's time for you to sit down and have an interview? You know, how are you going to explain that? It's going to drive people away from you because they fell in love with something that you're not.
Yeah, I tell artists all the time, like, if you do make it being that person, when it comes time for you to stay that person and you want to get back to yourself, you're not going to be able to switch over like that because you didn't told people you was one thing, so they fell in love with that. So now you stuck being somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So definitely great perspective, man. It's been a great interview. You dropped so many gems, so many perspectives. If I was in the audience, y'all definitely should be following her. Like, the knowledge she just dropped. And I talk to a lot of people on a daily basis, and I don't get this much information because a lot of times it's like people are not going to tell you everything. They give you some gems here and there, but they're not going to tell you just flat out everything and be real and authentic.
Or they don't know.
Or they don't know. You know what I'm saying? So definitely appreciate you. How can we support you? What can we do to support you?
You can support me by going to my website. It's pinned. I have a book out right now. It's called Music Money. It basically breaks down all the different sources of income and music on a very standard, basic level for anybody to understand. It's not just for artists. It's for any aspiring music executives that want to work in the music business, because you need to know this information. I also have a short film. Would love for you guys to go watch it. I wanted to get to it. I dropped it some years ago, but I would love to see it hit 1 million views. I think it's like 800-something thousand right now.
Get that.
It's on YouTube. It's called Balling on a Budget. It's starring DCM Fly and YFN Lucci. It's really cool. It's for the culture. It's educational, but it's also engaging. It's a strategic concept that I use when I put it out. So follow me on Instagram at Be My Checkmate, and across all platforms, Be My Checkmate. You know, that's where you catch me, see me, and that's how you can support me. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. I appreciate you for having me. Yeah. This was an amazing conversation. I loved it, and thank you so much for your support as well.
Most definitely. It was a pleasure. It was all mine. I thank you again. I appreciate you jumping on. If you ever need anything and I can do anything, just let me know. I'm definitely here for you. I appreciate all the gems you dropped again.
For sure. Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
You too. Bye.